Okay, everybody, it's time to talk about slope. Now, slope, just so you guys are aware, is also known as rate of change. So either one of those terms means the same thing. And the equation most of you are probably familiar with is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The letter m is the variable we use to represent slope. There's another way to do that, and it's the stack method, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. So first, let's talk about different kinds of slopes. Let's imagine we're going to go skiing today. Um, when a line is going up from left to right, it's like going up a hill. This is a positive slope. Okay? So when we're going skiing, usually we take a ski lift to do that, unless you feel like walking all the way up to the top of the hill, or driving in some cases. So once you get to the top of the hill, we need to have a negative slope if we want to slide down the hill. So once you get on your skis, or snowboard, whatever you do, you're going to go down the hill because gravity is going to pull you down, which means it has a negative slope. Until you get to the bottom, and then you just kind of safely stand right here without any issues. So whenever you have a horizontal line, something you can stand on, that is a zero slope. Okay, that's a zero slope. And hopefully you're good at stopping, because if you ever get to a vertical line, obviously that's going to cause some big old problems for you. You're not going to be very happy as you decide to fall. This is a vertical line which has an undefined slope, because you can't stand on it. You're just going to keep on falling, and, well, bye-bye. So those are your different kinds of slopes. And when we start graphing lines, just having an idea of what kind of slope you have is a good way to double check your answer at the end, okay? So when we have two coordinates, how do we find the slope? Well, to find the slope, there are two ways to do it, as I mentioned earlier. The first way is a way that many people have learned in the past, where you just use the slope formula. So all you need to do is have your x1 and y1, and then you have your x2 and y2, and you just use the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then 10 minus 2 is 8 over 6 minus 4 is 2. And of course, you just reduce your answer, so your slope is going to be equal to 4. But the other way I mentioned is a little stack method. Now to do that, you just stack the 2 points on top of each other. So this would be 7 comma negative 5. And we're going to make him go away. So what you need to ask yourself for the stack method is, how do you get from 6 to a negative 5? And you have to subtract 11. And how do you get from a negative 3 to a positive 7? You would need to add 10. But rate of change is still y over x. So you just have to take this number and divide it by that number, 10. So your slope in this case is negative 11 over 10. So there's two different ways to do slope. You just pick one that you like and roll with it. Next one, we have 3 minus 3, which is 0, over 7 minus 0, which is 7. And whenever 0 is on top, our slope is just 0. Now keep in mind, if 0 is on the bottom, that would be an undefined slope, because you can never divide by 0. That's why we call the slope undefined. Parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines have the same slope. So let's just take any random line here, and we'll just say that there's a line that has a slope. Parallel lines need to have the exact same slope, otherwise they would run into each other. So it needs to be the exact same slope. Now perpendicular needs to have opposite reciprocal slope. Now, opposite reciprocal means you need to take the reciprocal of whatever your slope is, and you need to change the sign, because, as you can see, if you're going to be perpendicular to that given line, one of them is going to be positive and one of them is going to be negative. Okay? So we look over here and we have AB and CD. AB has a slope of 1/2. CD has a slope of 2. Now, they are reciprocals, but they are not opposite reciprocals. Okay? So these have no relationship. They're just going to intersect at some point. Line AB and EF. AB has a slope of 1/2. EF has a slope of 1/2. So these lines are considered parallel. AB has a slope of 1/2, and GH has a slope of -2, which we know can be written -2/1. So it is a reciprocal. One is positive, one is negative. So this is an example of perpendicular lines. Okay? So that's it for parallel and perpendicular. Moving right along. Using slope to find a missing coordinate. So we know the slope is 1/2. We know that we have a point 4, 6, but we don't know what y is in the second coordinate. So to do this, we just use the slope formula. So this would be y minus 6 over 6 minus 4, which we can simplify to y minus 6 over 2. And now what you need to do is just set it equal to your given slope. So I told you that the slope was 1/2 in the beginning. Now all you have to do is solve for y. Well, how would you do that? All you need to do is good old-fashioned cross multiplying. 2 times 1 is 2, and that's equal to 2 times y is 2y. 2 times a -6 is a -12. Add 12 to both sides, so 14 is equal to 2y, so y is equal to 7. And that's how you find a missing coordinate when given one coordinate and a slope. Okay? So the next one is the same kind of example. I recommend keeping your variable first. You don't have to. It's just a recommendation. So why don't you pause the video and see if you can get this guy right on your own. If you got x equals 7 again, you are good to go. Now, like I said, it's easier if you keep the variable first. I mean, you don't have to. You can work with negative variables. I'm just trying to tell you what I've seen in the past. Students make sillier mistakes when the variable is negative for some reason. But of course, either way will work. So you get your 2 minus 8 is a -6 over x minus 5. Set that equal to the given slope. Cross multiply, and you get x equals 7, and you are good to go. All right, last thing. How to read a slope from a graph. So what you need to do is take 2 points, and I always recommend start at the left point. And again, that's just a recommendation. You do not have to do that. I have just found in the past students make less mistakes when they start with the left point. So, slope of line A. We're starting here at -4 on the y-axis. So that means the coordinate is 0, -4 if it helps you. Now all you need to do is ask yourself, how do you get from that point to this point, which is at 3, 0? And you would need to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have to go up 4 and over 1, 2, 3. So your slope is 4/3. And that's it. You're done. Now remember, that's just how you do it when you're counting. You could use the slope formula if you want to. You should know that it's positive because it is going up from left to right, which is how we read a graph. And there you go. You're done. Remember, slope is y over x, so it's rise over run. B, that one is undefined. Remember, vertical lines are undefined. That's just something you need to know. If you were to pick any 2 points on this line, you would have -8, 9, -8, 0. And once you were to use the slope formula, you would have -8 minus a -8 on the bottom, which is undefined. Next guy, line C. You start here. And then to get over to there, you need to go down 1. So that's a -1 for your y value. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it would be -1/6 for your slope. And of course, the last guy is a slope of 0 because you are not going up and down at all. You are just staying horizontal. So that's it for slope. If you have any questions, make sure you see me and ask. Otherwise, this is Longo and I'm out. See you, bye.